Hey everybody, as we enter the holiday season here, we're asking our listeners to gift us with very special ratings and reviews on iTunes and any podcatching service you use. You know, there's nothing better than giving gifts during the holiday season, and there's no other gift we would like more than to hear your guys' thoughts on our show. So just leave us a review and rating on your favorite podcatching service, and our gift to you will be reading out our favorite reviews, which will most likely be 5-star reviews, but you know, we have our standards. So thank you guys for listening, and we look forward to all the wonderful gifts. Hello and welcome to The Critical Breakdown, the podcast where we start at the bottom of Rotten Tomatoes and we work our way to 100% fresh. I'm Max.
And I'm Scott. Today we're talking Munich, not the city but the film. Rated 78% on Rotten Tomatoes.
78.
You know, not the city but the film could have been like the colon after this movie.
That'd be weird.
Yeah, but it'd be accurate. You know, it's not a bad plot synopsis.
Yeah. So full disclosure, I thought Munich was about the actual Black September attack, like specifically happening on the athletes. So I was very confused because this movie, that's like the first 5 minutes. It comes back later, but I didn't realize the movie barely takes place in the setting of Munich.
Yeah.
And instead is like a romp across Europe. Romp is not the right word, but
yeah, a classic romp.
Like a stomp across Europe, but
so no, you were like, how are they going to fill this other 2.5 hours?
Yeah. So also, like, I don't know if that, you know, well, I guess movie Not the City is more accurate then, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
So.
Not the city, but the movie.
Yeah.
Anyways, Max, have you been watching anything with a subtitle or with a colon name?
How about an ampersand?
Sure, I'll take an ampersand. What do you got?
I've been continuing down the path of Halt and Catch Fire.
Right on, man. I know you've been digging in.
We're on season 3. I think it's just
the last season, right?
I think it's a 4-season show.
Gotcha.
I want to say. It's really good. I recommend it to everyone. If you're not watching it, just start watching it. It's really good. Like, I don't know how to go too much into it. It's cool because it's not like, you know, like there's these huge shows that everyone talks about and they watch and they're dramatic and it's good, but sometimes it like loses its value because it's over dramatic. The show manages to be extremely dramatic, but it's also just like about people working their jobs, which are making computers. And somehow they build tons of tension and drama without it being like super hyper unrealistic.
That's good. A lot of times when the drama feels too injected, it can get, for me, it gets too much. Like it's melodramatic and, you know.
And, you know, you can maybe hand wave some of that away in like fantasy stuff or crime stuff, but when it's more like character study type of stuff and, you know, just like more grounded characters, it becomes a bit much. So,
sure.
But in this one, it's really good. The acting's amazing.
Yeah, I've been reading a lot of people have been putting out their like top 10 TV shows of 2017 lists. And I guess this year is when the last season came out of Halt and Catch Fire. So a lot of praise coming for it.
And it's well-deserved, I say. So I recommend everyone check it out.
Has it gotten much Emmy love? Primetime Emmys?
In 2015, it was nominated for Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Main Title Design.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. And then it looks like there's been something from the Satellite Awards, but it's not the Emmys.
It's tough. I feel like the Primetime Emmys are a little weird because the networks usually kind of put their chips behind one of their own shows. Like, I know HBO put everything behind Westworld this year, and The Leftovers ended up getting left with basically nothing, even though it's so critically acclaimed and stuff like that. So
yeah, I was going to say that's more of a critical darling right there.
Yeah. So Halt and Catch Fire might be the same way. What other shows? That's on AMC, is that right?
Yeah, it's an AMC show.
So what else do they have that's big right now? They have The Walking Dead, but that's not exactly
yeah, that's not like award.
Yeah.
You know, that's more.
They have Better Call Saul, right?
Yeah, they still have that going, and that'll probably eventually, if it hasn't, it probably will get awards eventually. I'm sure people seem to love it.
It's been getting nominated. It's great. I like Better Call Saul quite a bit. But well, that's good, man. I know I'll watch it eventually. I just got a lot on my plate, so
there's so many shows.
Yeah.
One
such show is the adult animated show on Netflix, BoJack Horseman.
Yeah, that's a good
so
one.
I tried to watch BoJack Horseman a while back, and I got maybe one episode in, maybe two, but I just bounced off and started watching other stuff. And there's so much good TV out there right now that I don't give things really a fair shake. But I ended up coming back to BoJack Horseman, and I really like it. I got a couple episodes in, and once they establish all the characters, it's really good, and it's simultaneously very like deep and like sorrowful, and a study about mental health, and it's very goofy at the same time. Like there's weird stuff in every episode, and you're not laughing throughout like you will when you watch like Parks and Rec or something, but there'll be little stuff that just kills me every time. So I'm like 2 seasons in now. I've heard it just gets better and better every season. The 4th season came out this year, so I'm just kind of plowing through it. You ever watched BoJack?
I think I saw all the first season. I enjoyed it a lot. I just never kept up with it.
Yeah.
I watched the first season like probably the week it came out.
Yeah.
So it's been a while. But no, it was good.
Yeah, the voice cast is really good too. I mean, your main characters are Will Arnett and Alison Brie and Aaron Paul, but then all the like secondary and tertiary characters are recognizable voices too.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
I like that it's, the weird animals mixed with humans and
yeah, and they never like acknowledge that really. Yeah. I mean, they acknowledge it, but they never like say anything about it being weird. It's just kind of, like that's a dog and that's a cat and stuff like that. So it's good though. Like I feel like it has that interesting balance of you either you take it very seriously while it's also super like weird and distant because of that kind of stuff, but it ends up working out, I think. So
you watch anything else, Scott?
Yeah, I watched a new release movie. It's limited release right now. I checked out Richard Linklater's Last Flag Flying. It's kind of a weird one. Like, it's just a drama. It's a character drama, but it's almost like an adult coming of age film, if that makes any sense. Like, they're all old men, but they're all going through like processes. It's kind of weird, but it's like part road trip movie, part coming of age for old dudes.
Yeah.
And it's really good. I really like Richard Linklater. I love his writing and how his movies are so like slice of life, and they feel really grounded, but they also like deliver kind of that emotional impact. And this one at the end of the movie, like the last 20 minutes or so, they're so powerful. It does feel a little long. It's only 2 hours, but it's not an action-packed movie by any means. It's just a lot of like character nuance and conversation. But then that last 20 minutes, it's like it was worth the first hour and a half being a slower-paced film for it. I don't want to go into too many details because I'm sure most of our audience hasn't had the chance to see it, as it's a very limited release right now. But it's good. I don't know if it's an award candidate, but I could picture it. I could see it being nominated in a few categories. But it's that kind of movie, like a prestige film. So it'll be on Amazon Prime. It was an Amazon Studios film. So, yeah, just like The Big Sick and Manchester by the Sea. But yeah, that's what I've been watching. How about you, man? You bet you got anything else on the plate, or has it all been you stopping and receiving fire?
Yeah, no, it's just been Halt and Catch Fire recently. I will say I'm excited for some stuff coming out.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, we're at that point of the year where there's big stuff coming out. I know we're right on the eve of Star Wars. Is that where you're going?
It actually was not my first one because I was going to do this weekend, but it's my second one on my list, so we can just talk about that. Yeah, The Last Jedi opens in basically a weekish.
Like 3 days,
yeah,
right?
Like,
I mean, by the time this goes up, it'll be 3 days away, right? 2 days away.
Yeah, it'll be within the week. So
yeah,
all 50 of you will be like, wow, it's that close.
It's weird, like compared to last year, I feel like there's not as much buzz just because The Force Awakens. It was like the return to Star Wars.
And then we had another Star Wars within the year. I mean, a year later, we had Rogue One. Now we have this one, and now we know there's a Han Solo one at some point within the year. Yeah. So it's like, it is less exciting in that sense. I'm excited to see where this story goes because I am invested in this story.
Yeah, for sure.
I am.
Rogue One, as much as I liked Rogue One, it had no staying power with me.
Like, well, I watched it a second time, and I enjoyed it, and I'll check it out from time to time.
Yeah. I'm sure I'll watch it a second time as well, but just like I don't really think about Rogue One, whereas The Force Awakens I'm still thinking about because these characters are still relevant and continuing and stuff. So
you can almost say that's mission accomplished because they were, the whole thing was they're the people who aren't thought about. They're the ones who died.
Yeah,
but,
no, for sure.
Yeah, that's
it's just kind of interesting.
It is. It shows that they're doing a good job at the main series so far, at least, I think.
And by all accounts, Rian Johnson has knocked The Last Jedi out of the park. Disney's given him a total vote of confidence. They've basically handed him the keys to a brand new trilogy if he wants it, and I think he has signed on for it.
Yeah.
But which is exciting. That means this one's probably going to be excellent.
Those porgs look cool.
The what?
The porgs.
What's the porg?
Those little monsters.
That are the one in the trailer that's like in the front seat with Chewie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool isn't the first word I'd go for, but
I think it looks cool, man.
Hey, we'll see. Maybe they're badasses.
I just think any type of weird alien monster yelling in a camera is cool with me.
Were you team Ewok? Were you in favor of the Ewoks?
Well, the Ewoks aren't cool, man.
Well, they yell in the camera, man.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Oh, okay. I was just going by your rules.
Like,
well, if Star Wars isn't your most excited about, what is?
I didn't say it's not what I'm most excited about. I just said I was going chronologically.
Okay. Excuse me.
I'm pretty excited about Tonya, which I believe opens this weekend.
Is it a full release this weekend, or is it just limited this weekend?
I think it's limited, but it's at least out there.
Sure.
And I'm excited about that. Every trailer I've seen has made it look better and better.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited for Shape of Water to start expanding and get to us here soon.
Yeah. That's gotten really good reviews too.
Yeah. And then Call Me By Your Name is I don't think it's even started. It's limited release, but that's getting a ton of award buzz. So
which one's that one?
That's the one with Armie Hammer and Timothy Chalamet.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a coming of age one. It won all the awards at like Sundance and Cannes and stuff. So, I mean, this is always an exciting time in the theater. You know, you could show up. You could show up at any time of any day, and you're gonna find something you want to see.
Yeah, and it's all these kind of the last run for award season here. So there's usually a couple gems coming out.
Usually it's like the prime award season because like you'll get these movies such as Munich that had a limited release around Christmas and then goes wide in January, but they start like ramping up in December here. So
yeah, that's true. And I mean, it's kind of a mixture of probably strategic planning and also making sure you get it out by the deadline.
Yeah.
Because if you know your competitors and it's November, December that you're releasing, you know if your movie's really, really good, you're probably going to be in good standing come award season.
Yeah. And so you do that like 10-theater run in December and then you go wide.
Yeah.
Or you can be crazy like Ridley Scott and just remake your whole movie without moving the release date.
Did he do that? What did he do that with?
This All the Money in the World. They edited out Kevin Spacey and reshot all of his scenes with Christopher Plummer, and the release date did not change. It's still coming out.
That's crazy.
Before Christmas sometime, yeah.
Well, that's kind of funny because also with Munich, they had a crazy editing schedule in order to get that movie done for December, where I think they saw like anytime they shot anything, they would send off the film, and within right away, basically Spielberg would get the dailies back, and then within 2 weeks they would have an edit done that they can send off to get scored and get sound effects. And so they had like an edit print within like 4 to 6 weeks while filming.
So was this on purpose because of a really tight schedule, or
it was a tight schedule to make sure he gets it out by the end of the year, by December, basically, for exactly what we just discussed. And then also, I don't know if there was any other reason beyond that. Maybe, just keeping the schedule tight and light and getting through it fast. But no, I mean, that was the big thing, was getting it out for the December release, because he decided to do it for December release, and then he just stuck to it. And it's Spielberg, so people make it happen when he says make it happen.
That's right. I mean, not many people can do it like him. I think Ridley Scott, just real quick to close the door on that, he's very famous for short amounts of time in post-production and editing. Like, his movies get turned around real quick. So that's why it almost doesn't feel that nuts that he's done it with this movie. But I don't know if Spielberg has the same reputation. I feel like I don't hear that story much with him, but
I don't know. Munich. I mean, it's interesting because, like, with Spielberg, we all kind of have these, like, notions of him, but a lot of times he tries to work outside of those notions. Like, we think of him as, like, a big, happy family director, but he's not always doing that,
No, yeah.
And his dark stuff's usually pretty damn dark, or just, like, heady and deep. But
between Munich and Saving Private Ryan and Schindler's List, Empire of the Sun, like, he's got a pretty deep filmography. But then he does go through phases, it feels like. Like, right now, it feels like we're kind of in the family movie phase of Spielberg, because we've got the BFG, we've got The Adventures of Tintin. It makes, like, The Bridge of Spies, which was a fine movie. But it feels weird right now because it's like, well, that's not a weird kids movie.
Yeah.
But then he's got The Post coming out. Speaking of coming in under the buzzer here in December, it's getting a lot of buzz, and that's going to be a more serious film too. So I think he's kind of proven he can do anything.
Oh yeah, he's definitely, he's earned his name. But I was just saying, it's kind of funny that we think of that one Spielberg notion, and even there, like, he defies it all the time. So I don't know if he's a slower filmmaker. I know he's, like, a really precise filmmaker.
You can see that just with his finished products. Well, we've been talking about Munich here for a minute, so let's just get into it. Max, what's the plot synopsis for Munich?
Based on the true story of the Black September Munich Olympic aftermath, 5 men were chosen to eliminate the ones responsible for that fateful day. That's a messy synopsis.
Yeah, I mean, it's a messy event. So
messy real life event. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically just the aftermath of the Munich terrorist attack at the Olympic Village, and just a manhunt after that.
Yeah,
they were going after everybody responsible.
Film.
Yeah, it's a revenge film, and it's like a deeply political film. We already mentioned it's Spielberg. What I like about the movie a lot too is and I know it's not 100% like authentic with the casting and stuff, but it feels like they didn't use very many big names. It's a lot of, like, European actors and actresses, and seemingly more authentic that way.
Yeah,
like Eric Bana is your A-lister here. And this is probably the height of Eric Bana's career, right? Like 2005.
Yeah, I would say, like, the Hulk through this was his big run.
Yeah.
After that, he's just kind of faded and been in smaller bits.
Yeah. But after him, who's your biggest actor? Jeffrey Rush, maybe? Daniel Craig.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, now when you look at it, Daniel Craig's your biggest name across the board. But when you look at it in the lens of the year it came out, this is like the role that basically got him James Bond. So
yeah. Which is also kind of funny when you look at it, because his role was pretty minor. I mean,
he just looked cool as hell. That was basically what was going on there.
He had, like, a goofy wig, and then he, like, dressed cool and cooked and drove the car, and
he had the, like, swagger that you'd want a James Bond to have. But he didn't do any, like, major action. He did a couple gunfire scenes, small things like that. Yeah,
but like, if I were punctuating my resume to prepare for a James Bond film, it wouldn't be this turn in Munich. It helps that he's, like, incredibly suave and attractive, and
plus, I mean,
is a great Bond. But
he had a good, I think, resume with other stuff that he had done. But no, this is probably just a
He definitely wasn't a household name at this point.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and I think when you look at the cast, I mean, some of these people are just kind of like, oh, I know that actor.
Yeah, a lot of that guys, OTGs.
You have Ciarán Hinds.
Yeah.
Who most recently played Steppenwolf in Justice League, which is mostly voice work, I believe. But most people know him as the King Beyond the Wall from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
He was also Julius Caesar in HBO's Rome. And he's been in a ton of other stuff. He's one of those guys where you're like, oh, I know that actor.
Yeah.
You also had Matthew Kassovitz, who is a French actor who I mostly know from the film Amelie. He played the love interest in there. Like you said, we have Jeffrey Rush.
He's also a Matthew Kassovitz. Is that how you said it?
Yeah, that's one of the Matthews in here.
Yeah. He's also a pretty big director, and I was reading.
Yeah, that's right.
Not a big director, but he's done some Gothica, Babylon AD.
Yeah.
But I was reading that he didn't want to do much acting at this point in his career. He just wanted to direct, but he made an exception for this movie because he wanted to work with Steven Spielberg.
That's interesting. That makes sense.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, I can't blame him.
Yeah.
Then you also have Ayelet. I messed it up.
Zurer.
Ayelet Zurer. Yeah.
From Angels and Demons. Yeah.
Yeah, from many things, including Angels and Demons. She also played Kal-El's mother in Man of Steel.
Yeah, so this is our third run with her.
Yeah. She's she's fine in this. She doesn't really do much, but she's an emotional anchor for Eric Bana's character.
Yeah, she gets to be a part of one of the strangest sex scenes I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah.
We'll get to it.
Yeah. It's kind of the big climax of the film. So
beyond those names, though, like there's not really many recognizable names. I feel like Michael Lonsdale, he plays a small character. Yeah. He's in tons of stuff.
Yeah. So when we were watching it, I was like, oh, that guy. And then I couldn't tell you where I knew that guy from.
Yeah.
So I did some research, and apparently he played a James Bond villain at one point.
Yeah, in Moonraker, I believe.
Which is funny because the character who is his son is played by Matthew Amalric, who also played a James Bond villain to Daniel Craig's James Bond.
Oh yeah, he was in Quantum of Solace, right?
I think so. Yeah. He's in either that one or the first one he was in, but I think it's Quantum of Solace. He's the oil guy, maybe.
Yeah, it's been a while since I saw Quantum of Solace, and I didn't like it at all.
But yeah, so it's kind of funny that I was like, oh, I know that guy from something. I couldn't place it. I should have just guessed James Bond. He's like a kind of Euro actor.
Which is like enough to say probably James Bond.
Yeah.
I wonder if the person who did the casting for Munich did some of the casting for the Bond series.
I mean, definitely would seem that way.
It seems so.
Yeah.
We have all the evidence.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah, so this movie is pretty interesting. It's dark. It is entertaining. It's gripping and thrilling. It kind of fizzled for me at the end.
Yeah, same here. It's a long movie. It's 2 hours and 45 minutes, which I think we both mentioned on the podcast before, but that's an investment.
Yeah, but what's funny is the first 2 hours didn't feel like that. It just moved really fast, and then
that's the greatest plus of the movie is that the tension and the build-up and the pacing is incredible in the first 2/3, and then basically after the main action part of the plot has wrapped up, there's this. It's almost like an epilogue afterward where Eric Bana's character's back in the States with his wife and him dealing with the aftermath of everything he's done, and it's very much so a slog.
Yeah, and it doesn't really do anything. I get what they're trying to show, but it just didn't grab me.
And it doesn't add to the like takeaway of the film.
Yeah.
I don't think. Like you could have done everything they did in that last 30 or 40 minutes in 5 minutes, and I would have had the same thoughts afterward. Except I wouldn't be thinking like, oh my God, this was 2 hours and 45 minutes. But that being said, it is still a pretty smooth ride overall.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of really good sequences. Like it's not an action-packed movie, but they do a good job of like there's like these high points of tension and action, but they're like very like 2-minute sequences where it's like a lot happening at once.
Oh yeah.
And it's like enthralling. Like that basically what they're doing is they're going around to all these targets and they're bombing them for the most part. They shoot the first one, and they maybe have to shoot one other. I don't fully remember now, but they're mostly using these bombs, like hiding them in a telephone or in a TV or under a bed, and they have to make sure that the person who's supposed to be their target is there to be blown up, and they try to limit the casualties, but it doesn't always go to plan.
It's like handed to them like, hey, we're civilized, so we're gonna blow these guys up, but you're not to like let a lot of casualties happen, limit things, like, be precise. I forgot what they say. He says something like, we're Israelis, we're not monsters. Like we want to do, we want to get revenge, but we want to get our revenge. Yeah. So
and they wanted it. They used bombs. I mean, if you were just trying to get the revenge without sending a message, you would probably find a better way to do it. But they're using the bombs because they want like their enemies to see that these guys are getting bombed, like a big newsworthy thing.
Basically, they're using terrorism as a form of counterterrorism.
Yes.
Because they want the people who organized it and anyone who supported it to see what happens when you cross them, basically.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much exactly.
It's a hard plot to swallow as a viewer at first, because you're either gonna, like, you think at first it's gonna be just kind of like a Charles Bronson 80s type of movie revenge plot where it's like, badass lines delivered and nobody ever feels any emotions afterwards. But they actually go the other way, thankfully, where it shows,
it's like the total opposite.
Yeah, it shows the conflict and shows that these guys actually aren't like trained killers. They're more just like guys who work for the government and then realize that they're kind of stuck doing this. And some of them are pretty righteous about it and realize, they've probably bit off more than they can chew. And some of them are pretty hesitant about it. And they also, are the ones who kind of carry the emotional burden. So, I mean, I thought it was like kind of well carried. And apparently it's more even tempered than a lot of people predicted, because a lot of people were angry. There was a lot of controversy around the portrayals in the film.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you bring a movie like this, whenever you make a movie like this, I think it kind of invites controversy because, I don't know. I mean, there's always going to be people who don't want to, like, it's a very fine line, like Israel versus Palestine. And I mean, that's naturally going to divide. There's not anybody who's really just like, oh yeah, okay, I'm middle, like it's a natural dividing point. And then to make a movie that shows so much of this kind of espionage and counter-espionage, and then even like there's some global politics at play here. Like at one point, there's a sequence where CIA people stop one of these assassinations, and when you hear just that sentence just now, it's probably like, okay, that's probably a good thing. Like, yeah, good job, CIA. But they were working with the Palestinians or whoever it was, this terrorist cell, and stopping the Israeli hit squad from doing their thing. So it's like, it's really murky.
Yeah.
So I could see why, but I was just reading a little bit before we started recording that there were protests and stuff before the movie's release.
Yeah, who were the people protesting?
I was hoping you had the details.
Oh, okay. Well, I know the Zionists of America were protesting at the release in December for the reasons we just stated, because they were saying it wasn't accurate. And then also the film was denounced by the Israeli government when it was first released. They said the depiction of Mossad, which is the Israeli Secret Service, and real life events were too inaccurate, like highly inaccurate. And at the time, one of the Israeli government spokespeople said Spielberg should stick to making films about dinosaurs. So they were very sassy in their response.
Yeah, that's such it minimizes Spielberg so much, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, like, one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. Stick to dinosaur movies, bud.
Yeah. And it's not like he hasn't handled historical movies like pretty well in the past, you know. I feel like his filmography lends him some credibility here, and maybe that's not fair, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to find what really differed, and the biggest thing I could find was the ending of this film is different from real life because in real life, I guess the Mossad agents actually bombed the mastermind of the Munich killings and got his 4 bodyguards, as well as they killed 3 innocent bystanders and injured about 16 innocent bystanders. In the film that we watched, Munich, and the last 2 surviving agents go to kill the mastermind, and like the pool boy or like a drink, like a waiter or a valet at the mastermind's mansion accidentally stumbles upon them. I guess he was a guard because he had a gun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he stumbles upon them, and the job goes poorly, and they just have to escape, and they just like escape from where they're at completely, and just like give up there, I guess. But
yeah, that was like the end of the line for them.
Yeah, so it kind of like fizzled out, the whole thing, but that's not what happened in real life. I guess in real life they took out a lot of people.
Yeah, there was a couple other things that I think were left out. I was reading that they had attempted an assassination of one of the leaders, and they just killed the wrong guy.
Yeah.
They just killed like an innocent guy, and yeah. So I mean, I don't know. It's a movie. They're gonna have to shorten and cut things, but you could argue that the cuts were done in a way to paint a message. But I didn't feel like this movie goes overwhelmingly like it's not political in its like its thesis statement isn't like pro one side.
Yeah. To me, yeah, exactly. It's not saying like, Palestine is in the right, and it's not saying Israel's in the right. It's not saying any of that. Yeah. But to me, it kind of asks this question: is counterterrorism, using terrorism as a form of counterterrorism, is that the right answer to terrorism? And the answer kind of that it gives is like maybe, but maybe not. But regardless, it's not clean, and you're not going to feel good. Like it's not this touchy-feely thing where you just win. It's just showing how messy all this stuff is, and how it's still topical in 2005, and how it's still topical in 2018, and how I don't think this film won't be topical in that sense, for like a long time. So I don't know. Yep. I mean, I think a lot more people were raw about terrorism at the time because a lot of big things had still happened, like more recent to that. So maybe that kind of added to some people's anger with it. And now like things have kind of, there's still things happening all the time, obviously, but it's a little easier to stomach some stuff. But I will say, this film's pretty brutal, man.
Yeah, it definitely it doesn't cut any. It doesn't like protect the viewer at all. Yeah. I think and I was surprised, and I shouldn't have been, because when you think about it, it's like, okay, Saving Private Ryan, Schindler's List, like it's not like he shies away from this stuff. But I think the first one that got me was someone just got like shot, and you just see all the blood shoot out. It's like, oh God.
Yeah, for me, it was the guy who got shot through the head, but it was through his jaw.
Yeah.
And his cheeks, and he's just walking around for like 20 minutes afterwards, man, just like bleeding everywhere. Yeah. And you could tell he looks weak, and he looks like he took a bullet, but he's still moving around. And it would just be stuff like that where like people would get shot, and it showed a more realistic depiction, I'm guessing, of, death under a bullet, because most movies you get shot, you die no matter what. Like that's just how they do it, just for simplicity's sake. In this, it's like, yeah, you take a bullet, you're going to walk around for 15 minutes and then you're dead. And it's weird, and there's blood everywhere, and it's just hard to watch. But like I said, I think he's really trying to paint this picture of brutality with violence, and I think it's pretty successful in that way. It definitely left me feeling weird.
Yeah, and the one that really got me was when their bomb maker makes this one bomb that's way too powerful, and it just levels this like floor of a hotel.
Yeah.
Not only killing the target, but totally decimating him. And at one point, Eric Bana's character like walks through the room where their target once existed, and his guts are on both the ceiling and the floor, and it's just
it's everywhere.
It's tough. Yeah, and I mean it doesn't. It's not for the faint of heart, I would say, this movie.
No, not at all. It's it's a tough film about a tough subject.
Yeah.
That's really, I don't know how else to like, describe it.
Yeah.
What's interesting is Steven Spielberg was going to direct, he wanted to make this for like 2003 or 2004, which it would have been very raw of a release for, all the stuff we were dealing with over here.
Yeah.
But it was shelved when Tom Cruise was available so that they could make War of the Worlds.
Interesting.
And so, these are like back to back almost. Because when was War of the Worlds?
That had to be like 03 or 04.
Let's see. War of the Worlds was 05.
Oh, okay. And this came out in 05, so.
Yeah, so I guess that's why he made such a fast turnaround for this one. So yeah, he was planning. It's weird that like, I guess War of the Worlds took like 2 years of planning. That makes sense, like a year of planning and probably like, months of filming. So that does make sense. But this one, it's kind of funny. He must have done the pre-planning like right during that whole period and just jumped right into it again. So, yeah, that is super interesting. I'm glad.
Yeah, War of the Worlds was a June release in 2005, and this came out in, for all intents and purposes, January 2006, but it's limited releases in December. So
yeah,
that's pretty nuts, actually. I mean, you don't see that very often.
No, not at all. So that does show that Spielberg is pretty skilled at doing these fast turnarounds, at least for this. So,
hey, that Spielberg guy, he's pretty good.
He's not that bad, He's gonna go places.
He's gonna go places. He'll make something of himself.
You'll be hearing his name again.
Yeah. What else could we have watched?
Well, we have a long list.
List. I love a longie.
So we'll start off with one I've never seen, but I know you've seen, and this one actually had some good buzz on it. But it's Pop Star Never Stop, Never Stopping.
Yeah, I don't. I don't even know if did it have all that much buzz, because it was a huge flop at the box office.
A lot of critics enjoyed the comedy, obviously, since it's this high up.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the other one we watched from them that I like a lot?
Hot Rod.
Hot Rod was like very low.
Yeah,
not the lowest comedy we watched by any means, but it was very low compared to this. So yeah, it had a good critical buzz. I remember.
Yeah, critical buzz for sure.
There was a lot of.
I wasn't that impressed with Pop Star.
I remember a couple think pieces around the time it came out where it had like made no money back basically, and people were just writing about why good comedies don't make any money and stuff like that. And I never read any because I didn't see the movies. So it's on my long list of movies that I'll get around to.
There you go.
Next up is one I'm actually excited to watch, and we've discussed it like 3 times, but both have not sat down to watch it, which is The Shallows.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I haven't sat down to watch is because I don't know if I can handle it. But
I'm not really scared of sharks too much, which is probably a dumb decision on my part. So
famous last words.
Yeah, but I do enjoy like high tension movies, and I've heard that this does that very well.
Yeah, and I'm always interested in those like one-man show sort of things, and I'm pretty sure this is just Blake Lively.
Yeah.
But another one like that is Buried, starring her husband Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. It's not on this line or anything, but I love that movie, and that's just him in a box.
One-man show cinematic universe?
Ooh.
I don't even know how that would work.
Doesn't make any sense.
After that, we have Brave.
Yeah, this is one of my least favorite Pixar movies, which is like saying something is like my least favorite pizza place.
Yeah.
I still like it, but
I haven't seen this one.
It left no impression on me.
People like it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got. I'll see it eventually, but I know people like this one.
People come here for our sharp takes, People
Moving
like it.
From one redhead to a couple of others, we have Crazy Stupid Love.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
I enjoyed it.
I like it. Yeah, you watched it for your May movie reviews, I know.
Yeah. So I watched it. It was pretty damn cheesy, but it was a good kind of cheesy. It was like,
yeah, and it's endearing.
Yeah,
and it bucks some of the trends of like your genre stereotypes of the romantic comedy. So.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's a solid one. I recommend it to people.
Same.
We had Flight.
Flight,
or as I call it, Black Sully. No, I'm kidding. That's terrible. Yeah, Flight. That's the Denzel Washington one, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Robert Zemeckis. I didn't think it was all that great. It's fine, but it just like it's like a technically fine movie, but it's so boring.
Yeah. I never saw it, so I don't have any comments on it.
Yeah, that's probably accurate.
One we've already talked about before, technically. Dredd.
Oh. Dredd. Yeah, we watched Dredd. We talked a lot about Dredd.
Yeah, Dredd's good, man.
What'd you like better, Munich or Dredd? Very different films.
Yeah, they're so different. I think for enjoyability and rewatchability, I'm going to give that to Dredd because it's like a fun violent. This is like a real deep violent. I enjoyed it, but it was like it'd be years before I ever revisit Munich just because it's like it's a lot to take in. So,
yeah. I'm more likely to rewatch Munich.
Yeah.
I'll give Munich the nod.
That's fair. I'll put mine to Dredd, but just because I like that kind of movie.
Yeah, and I like the kind of movie that Munich is more.
A movie that I'm lukewarm on. Next, I liked the first viewing of it well enough, but it didn't like grab me and blow me away, which is Sin City.
Yeah, I didn't care for the half of it that I saw, and I don't intend to catch the rest.
It has some cool moments in it, and some really good one-liners, but other than that, like, it's fine. I don't know. After Sin City, we have Dreamgirls.
Yeah, I never saw this one.
Beyonce.
Either.
I don't know if Beyonce's in that. Is she?
I'm going with no. I'm pretty sure she's not. Kelly Rowland, isn't she in it?
Dude, we've never seen this movie, have we?
It's clear that we haven't.
Beyonce is in Dreamgirls. You also have Jennifer Hudson and Eddie Murphy and Jamie Foxx.
Wait, was Kelly Rowland not in it?
I don't think Kelly Rowland's in it, man.
Well, what can you do? You can't win them all.
Yeah, you can't. Next up, Role Models.
I love Role Models. It's funny.
I own Role Models, but I've never seen it.
I might own Role Models.
I've never seen like half of these. The reason I've never seen it...
You've never seen it?
Listen, I got it on... This is how long I've owned Role Models. I got it on Netflix DVDs back when, everyone still had that, the subscription thing.
Yeah.
And then I was in the middle of moving, I think, and it got lost. So I just canceled the subscription and paid for the cost of the DVD. And then it randomly shows up in my office. Like when things just get moved around, the little Netflix slip shows back up with that disc, but I never think to put it aside. So it just keeps showing up and vanishing out of my life, and I've never just sat down to watch it because every time I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, I should finally watch that. It's been years now, dude. Years. And this little Netflix envelope slip just comes in and out of my life.
Yeah, it came out in, 2008 or something?
Yeah. Like a decade.
You know what? Well, you should watch it. I think you'll like it. It's funny.
I probably would like it. I mean, Paul Rudd, so why not?
Yeah, Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd. Next up, we got Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
I just watched this for the first time a month or two ago.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I don't see what all the hubbub is about, but it was fine.
You probably should have watched it when you were 10.
Yeah, I probably should have watched it when it was relevant, but I did.
It's rumored they're making a third one.
What are they going to call it?
Honestly, don't know. But the whole premise of the movie is when they get older, they make this music that changes the world. And from what I heard, the premise might be they're old and they're washed up middle-aged musicians that haven't changed the world, and they're trying to figure out what happened.
Oh,
which could be funny.
Right.
With the right team, that could be a pretty cool follow-up to this kind of movie.
Yeah,
but
it's kind of hard to picture Keanu doing that now.
Dude, he's gung-ho about it, man. It's weird.
He seems like a very passionate guy, but all I can picture him in now is John Wick.
I just think of him as Johnny Utah, man.
Yeah, my feelings on him as Johnny Utah.
He goes 0 to 90 only on certain subjects, and it doesn't make any sense, but I love it. After that, we have Bad Santa.
I have never had any interest in seeing this movie.
Same. So we'll just jump to the next one. A League of Their Own.
Classic, I love A League of Their Own.
Classic film.
Classic.
I mean, quotable, funny, great, always relevant. It's good. You have Braveheart.
Yeah, this one's a good. I haven't watched it in a really long time.
Yeah.
I wonder how it ages.
I watched it when we started the podcast. That was one of the first movies I talked about, actually.
Oh yeah. Play the clip. Roll the clip.
I said everybody sounded like they're in in that they all look like all the extras look like Danny McBride for some reason with mullets. And I don't know why, but I guess that's just all the Scottish extras that showed up to the set that day.
It was just a bunch of Danny McBrides.
Yeah, I mean, it held up pretty good. It's, it's like watching anything with Mel Gibson now, where when he's a terrible person, there are issues with watching his work, but it's also like, it's a well done piece of film. So there's that. We also had Wall Street.
The original? Yeah, Money Never Sleep's got a lot worse reviews.
Yeah.
Wall Street's good. I liked both of them well enough. I think anybody who watches these movies and thinks they're like these like cutting insights on capitalism is like, I don't know, a little naive about it, but they're entertaining. Like that's it.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, these things are going to be, fictional, but you do always kind of have something to grab onto it. So, and it's still obviously like kind of a time period at the time that was kind of interesting, and now we still explore different aspects of that. So, just a couple of years ago we had Wolf of Wall Street. Wall Street as a concept like that is always going to be kind of interesting to capture things that happen within it. So,
and it's something everybody's like a little bit familiar with.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you can make like a bombastic drama around it, and people are going to at least know what it is.
We also had The Thin Red Line.
Yeah, this is Terrence Malick.
Yeah.
And
it's his war movie.
Yeah.
I saw some of it before. It's exactly what you expect from a Terrence Malick war movie.
Yeah, that's probably why I haven't seen it.
Didn't. I was too young to really grab like if there was anything great with it, but I should revisit it really. But it looked visually interesting. I remember. It's about Guadalcanal.
That's all of Malick's movies have that visual interest.
Yeah. I will say it definitely had more form than Tree of Life.
I mean, I damn well hope so. Tree of Life is formless.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
We also had Predator. I was going to say, speaking of formless, he had a form. He was just invisible. But we had Predator. Didn't we?
Yeah, I've never seen Predator.
I thought we recently had Predator already on the list, so maybe that's a double.
Yeah, that might be a classic double. It's okay though.
Predator is 79%.
We'll talk about it next time too.
Anyway, I love Predator.
I've never seen it.
Have you seen Bram Stoker's Dracula?
Nope. That's
it's Coppola.
Francis Ford Coppola, right?
Yeah.
Gary Oldman.
I really like Bram Stoker's Dracula. I know some people don't like it, and I think you can sympathize with them. One of the big reasons a lot of people don't like it is Keanu Reeves. Yeah,
I can sympathize with them.
So there's that.
Who does Keanu Reeves play?
He plays like this character named Jonathan Harker. Dracula is played by Gary Oldman. Winona Ryder plays Mina, which is like his love interest, kind of torn.
Solid cast.
Anthony Hopkins is Van Helsing.
Oh hell yeah! I'm kind of into it now.
You have Monica Bellucci in there.
Okay.
Carrie Elways.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a good cast, man. It's definitely worth checking out. I think it's on Prime right now. It's on my list of stuff on Prime, but
yeah, that sounds about right. It seems like the kind of movie that would be on Prime right now.
And then finally, a movie that people should check out, but you'll probably just watch it once and never want to watch it again, which is Requiem for a Dream. Yeah.
I mean, I don't ever plan on watching it again, but it's a well done movie.
Yeah, there's
does not pull any punches.
It's tough, man. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's gross. There's images that stick with you like your entire life, basically.
I think I actually did vomit watching it.
I don't blame you.
Because I'm the kind of guy who, like, if somebody throws up and I can see or hear it, like, it puts me right on the verge.
Yeah.
And maybe it was ass to ass that got me.
That's surprisingly not the worst
Yeah,
gross thing
it
in the
really
film.
isn't. Yeah.
So, yeah. So we had
You know
some
what
good
though?
picks.
Jared Leto's really good in that movie, man.
It's,
He's such a weirdo, but he really does show up a lot of the time. Like he's in Blade Runner for 3 minutes and he kills it.
I mean, he's got his faults as a person and as like
Yeah.
a ridiculous character, but he's
Yeah.
he's a good
talented.
actor. He's just a good actor.
Yep. Yep.
So I don't gotta like him, but I can respect his craft.
It is. There it is.
Well,
A lot of movies. These lists, there's a lot of movies now that we're at the 70s, 80s.
Yeah, and we'll eventually have, a way to work in some of these options here, but for now, we'll probably do this where we just do some small discussions on them.
Yeah, little vignettes.
Out of those, if you had to pick one besides Munich, what would you have picked?
It was a long list, man.
It was.
You got me there with Bram Stoker's Dracula. Like, I'm kind of interested in it.
Yeah. That's I think that was probably my big push when we were debating. I was like, let's do. I'm cool with Munich. I'm cool with Bram Stoker's Dracula or The Shallows, and you were like, I'm leaning towards Munich, so we kind of went with that. But I remember I pushed for it a couple times just because I think it's an interesting film.
Yeah, I'd been wanting to watch Munich for a while, and I've got Bram Stoker's Dracula on my list too, but I think you might have moved it up a couple spots.
Nice. I mean, just for the cast alone, it's worth it.
Yeah. This, Munich was a five-time nominated Oscar film, so...
Yeah, I mean, it's a solid film, I will say.
It was a deserving choice. No regrets, no regrets.
It's definitely another film that's worth watching. Let's talk about that end of the film, though, before we finish this episode.
Yeah, so we talked, we sort of mentioned not in passing, but a little bit about what the first two acts are structured. And even the last act continues in that structure of them continuing the hunt.
Yeah.
But after the big climactic attempt, they come back stateside, I believe it was Brooklyn, where Eric Bana reunites with his lovely wife and child. But there's some like PTSD stuff kind of going on, and he's got this extreme paranoia. So there's some sequences where like a car will just be driving and he thinks he's being followed. And the weirdest moment is this like 5-minute sex scene where Eric Bana is just dripping with sweat. Head to toe. And he's just like there's this like spotlight on him, and it keeps like cutting down from like his wife's face back up to him, and he's just like looking straight up, not at her, just like up, like behind the bed, it looks like. And it's like interspersed with these shots of the hostages being killed. And I guess this is kind of a twist, but it's revealed, I wasn't even sure if this was real, but it was revealed that he was a sniper in Munich at the Munich airport who was trying to stop the terrorists from killing the hostages, and he couldn't do it.
I'm not even sure if we just came up with that or
I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Yeah, like they weren't really clear with it is kind of my issue, where we kind of pieced that idea together, but I don't really know because they never flat out said it,
Yeah.
It was just like this whole messy thing. And yeah, I get what they're going for, piecing, like sexual release and this tension that's locked up inside of him and this like horror all at the same time, but it just doesn't work. It's too weird. Like,
oh yeah. So like he throws his head back and like sweat just comes pouring up, and it's like weirdly slow motion. And this movie did do quite a bit of that, where it'll like slow down for like 1 3-second, like whatever. And
yeah,
it's a weird sequence. It's a weird sequence.
Yeah, it really is. And it feels almost too over dramatic for this film that managed to toe the line between drama and like realism.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, okay, what is this? Like this went real big melodramatic at the end, and I get the PTSD, the following in the car works, like stuff like that really works.
Yeah.
Having freakouts works, but then it's just like the sex thing, man. That scene alone, like I feel
Yeah, it took me out of it.
He could have been like buying tomatoes and then like squeezing one really hard and interspersing that with the sniper attack, and it would have been more emotional.
Yeah, you can look at a movie like The Hurt Locker, where when Jeremy Renner's back stateside, the way they show his like culture shock. I remember there's a scene of him just like staring at a grocery aisle with all the different types of cereal and just being like overwhelmed by it. And it's such a minor thing, but you can tell he's just like kind of broken. And that's a really powerful sequence because of its simplicity. There's not like slow motion with like these weird cuts and stuff. And it really is a weird sequence in a movie that for the most part is filmed very by the book always sounds bad, but it's not flashy. It doesn't have weird sequences like this. It's a very normalized film, and then it's just this weird scene.
It's very grounded. It doesn't feel like a movie sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's not just a movie. It's like a ridiculous movie.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe Spielberg just isn't good at making sex scenes.
Maybe.
I'm trying to think if he's done other sex scenes. I don't really know.
You know, I haven't seen the BFG, but...
Big fucking giant.
I'm navigating now to his filmography to see where else we might have had some old S scenes. Did you see The Terminal? I never saw The Terminal.
Is there one in Catch Me If You Can?
Sort of. It's like more playful than like passionate, though.
Yeah, I think that's where he lies more when he's good.
Yeah.
Is like Indiana Jones. There's always kind of like romance scenes that cut off before there's actually sex.
Yeah, that's what Catch Me If You Can does.
Yeah. So
they should have done it.
That works better definitely than the Sweat Lodge scene. So
the Sweat Lodge scene. Some of the other things I liked with the movie, the music's really good. It's John Williams, and John Williams is just like a really good traditional composer, and you can tell it's a John Williams score because it just sounds like it.
Yeah.
And then it's just cool whenever you see a movie like this. Like, it's not a period piece per se, but it's got all the aspects of a period piece, and it's very 70s. Like,
I think it's a period piece.
Yeah. I never know like what makes a period piece a period piece.
It's literally just being set in a different period. So
I've always thought of it like if the setting is sort of a character in a period piece, if that makes any sense. Probably not now that I'm talking still.
Yeah, I think usually it has to be like fully identifiable to a time period is what I would say. And since this is tied around like an Olympic event that we can easily define, I would throw it in a period piece.
And they have like that legit footage, which always lends some extra authenticity to the movies. And no, it was good. I mean, it was very definitely 70s. Like even the like couple scenes in New York, like it looked like 70s New York.
Yeah.
So it's always nice. And I mean, Spielberg, Amblin Entertainment, they're not gonna mess that kind of thing up.
Oh, no.
There's weird choice. You know what the other weird thing was? We both noticed this when we were watching, but the lighting in the movie was super weird at times.
It's true.
It would be washed out, and the light would like come over things that were in the foreground, and it didn't make any sense. Like you thought it might even be just a problem with our Blu-ray copy specifically, which I vehemently denied because Blu-ray is the ultimate way to watch a movie. I'm just joking now, but
this episode
it did look
is
like
brought
that.
to you by Blu-ray.
Yeah. In 2 years, I'll be all about 4K or whatever.
Yeah.
No, nothing.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look up if there's anything. I know they switched between using modern Technicolor Kodak film and some Fuji film that had more of a blue tint to it they used for the Beirut scenes. But I don't know if there was anything with that that messed, because it was, for me, what I was noticing, there was a lot of like kind of, I don't even know how to describe it, like strobe looking, not even strobe, like shuttering kind of effect near white windows in the film. It was strange. It's hard to define what was up with it, but the lighting
could
just looked odd.
You could pull a screenshot and show it like very simply.
Yeah. It was like very strong highlights that were blown out almost, and at the same time in those scenes, like the blacks in the image, those values were like way lower, so it was just kind of a weird piecing of white and black in each picture together. I don't know. It was strange. It might have been on purpose for all we know, but
yeah,
it definitely was interesting.
Yeah, it was. But overall, I mean, it's an investment. It's very hard for me to recommend like a 3-hour film to anyone because I don't want to be the guy who recommended someone spend an eighth of their day on a movie they're not going to like.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like I'll recommend The Godfather, as far as 3-hour films would go. But I'm not going to tell anyone like, oh, yeah, go out of your way and watch Munich right away. But if you can catch it or watch it in 2 sittings, you'll probably like it.
Yeah, if you like historical films, if you like sports, not even sports really, 'cause it's barely connected to sports, but if you know a lot about sports history and you think this is interesting, like that's, that would definitely be, worth watching. I mean, if the subject just catches your interest at all.
Yeah. If you're a big Eric Fana, then
old Eric Bana, support him if you're a fan.
Did you see what I did with the Eric Fana thing, though?
I did.
All right. Max, where can the good people find us?
You can find us taking a tour of Europe, paid for by a government that we cannot name. Or you could just go to thecriticalbreakdown.com. You could check out our Facebook and Twitter. And you can always, check our website that I just mentioned for blogs, and we'll, have some more exciting stuff coming too. You can always find me talking to a man I'm about to blow up in a hotel. That sounds weird. Or you could just find me at Max Rivera Film on YouTube, on Twitter.
A little bonus plug.
Yeah.
A little boner plug there. You can find me drenched in sweat in bed, or you can find me on Instagram at breakdown_Scott. Let us know, if we're maybe we just were we missing something with Munich? Let us know. I don't think we were, but just confirm for us. Everyone, just shoot us an email at thecriticalbreakdownpodcast@gmail.com and just say, "Hey guys, you didn't miss a thing," and that'll put us a little at ease.
Yeah.
Jason Brown did our music, and
Josh Rivera did our artwork.
Yeah, and Wally is the podcast dog.
Oh, Wally.
And we're the podcast Olympic Highlight team.
That we are. Next week on The Critical Breakdown.
We're watching Scream.
Rated 79% on Rotten Tomatoes.